Cool, genius, I love that idea. The functions, right? For as long as I care, it can be made of the mystery meat from lunch in the cafeteria. As long as it is hard enough and I can screw the screws with it, I call it a wrench. What it is made up of doesn't matter, as long as it satisfies the same function. So, why am I at the second slide? Anyway, hopefully this mic is working. Welcome back, guys. Today we are having this little discussion on identity theory. If you don't quite remember what it is, it's fine. I'm gonna give you guys a brief recap. So here is our objectives today. First, I'm gonna talk about the pros of identity theory. Secondly, about its cons. What might it fail to account for? And then after that, interestingly, we are going to try to work out a new theory, our own theory, that has identity theory's pros, but avoids the cons. It's going to be real interesting, guys. So first of all, what is identity theory? It just says your mental state is identical to brain state. So something they are likely to say, for example, is your pain experience is exactly the same as a certain type of neuron firing. Or, it's pretty cold outside, it's below 0 Celsius. Identity theorists will say your cold experience is the exact same as a certain brain area firing. So, won't you say that if malfunction of brain is always accompanied by some kind of malfunction of mind, it is likely that mind and brain are identical? I'm not saying it's necessary, I'm just saying at least these two corroborates, right? It's at least more likely. And we do have good neuroscientific evidence for that. For example, when we are feeling pain, scientists found out that there's this certain special kind of fiber. It's called C fibers. They are firing in our central nervous system. If due to some kind of degenerative disease, they don't work, they die, malfunction, we won't be able to feel pain anymore. Well, identity theory would have a very easy time accounting this, right? Because they say pain is the same as this fiber. Now, if you don't have this fiber, I bet you won't be able to feel pain. Whereas something like dualism would really struggle to account for some phenomena like this. Because they would say, mind is in this other world as the physical neurons. They won't be able to account for the correlation between neurons and mental state. So that's the pro for you. But identity theory also has this very, very big problem, the hard problem of consciousness. I summarized it as why? Because identity theory is quite a big leap if you think about it, right? Claiming brain cells firing is identical to conscious experience is not something as obvious as claiming this square is identical to equilateral rectangle. It's not quite as obvious as that. You need good reasoning to jump from here, brain cells, to conscious experience, which is something we don't currently have. We have another big problem. We call it multiple realizability. To explain that, I want to start off with an example. So, does anyone have a pet? Do you have a pet? Yeah. Do you have a dog?
I do. I have 2 dogs.
Cool. So let's say, not being abusive, I love dogs, but if I pinch your dog, what would your dog feel?
Probably pain.
Pain, right? If I pinch you, what would you feel?
Pain.
So you do agree that even though you and the dog are made differently biologically, right? You have different cells, different structures. You guys can feel the same thing. You guys can sort of share a feeling. So humans and other species should be able to feel the same thing. And by the way, because I have paranoia, Luke, can you check if the iPad is recording?
It is recording.
Thank you so much. Because that has gone terribly wrong last time, so I just want to make sure.
How long did you realize?
Like halfway through the session. So I had to remake that video. Anyway, back to the topic, right? If humans and dogs can feel the same thing, identity theory would expect humans and dogs to have the same brain state, because once again, they claim brain state is the same as the feeling. However, neuroscience doesn't support that. They found out that when we are feeling pain, it's C fibers firing. But dogs do not have C fiber. When they are feeling pain, it's some other kind of fibers firing. So identity theory doesn't really work. it doesn't account for the phenomenon that we are able to share the same feeling with different brain structures. Yes?
Does identity theory just mean that the C fibers are firing, or does it just mean neural?
It's a more general claim saying any kind of feeling should be exactly the same as some kind of brain state. They correspond to a brain state.
Yeah. So I think that, if I understand it correctly, the extrapolation of identity theory, if it was true, and if we had sufficient technology, is that if I can look at your brain from the outside, I know what you're thinking and feeling.
Basically, yes. So, identity theory does not account for that. Just to summarize, we have two challenges now: the hard problem and multiple realizability. We need a new.
Sorry, what's realizability?
It means, oh yeah, good question, right? I should link that back. Multiple realizability just means the same feeling can be realized in different systems. For example, the same pain can be realized both in you, me, and the dog, despite we're made differently. Pain can be multiply realized. So identity theory is corroborated by modern neuroscience, but it has these two significant theoretical problems. So we need a new theory that on one side corroborates with current neuroscience, just like identity theory, but also avoid multiple realizability and the hard problem. Right. Different from the last few sections, I'm not going to do the work. Well, I'm kind of doing the work by giving you hints, but I'm going to let you do the thinking work, how to work out that new theory. Before that, I want to give you guys an example. Seems unrelated, but promise you it will be related as we go further. Let's say Jeremy. Jeremy can lift weight. That is true. I, in fact, go to the gym. And John, Dr. Schneider, you look pretty strong, right? You can also lift weight. And let's say Jeremy also likes to eat gelato. And now, let's say a scientist, Luke, came in. Luke said, Jeremy's ability to lift weights must be due to his love of gelato. Possible. Maybe there's something special in the gelato, protein powder, whatever. He said, perhaps John should also love gelato. So, this is a hypothesis, right? Ignore this Lewis. I meant to type Luke, but whatever, typo. Our hypothesis currently is that their shared love of gelato may account for their ability to lift weights. But as we get to know John better, we found out that he does not like gelato. He likes American ice cream, which is a lot worse by gelato personally, thinking though. But anyway, so now that hypothesis no longer works, right? The love of ice cream is no longer a shared property. They like different stuff. So now we need to have this other common property that can account for their ability to lift weights. How about something more reasonable, like they have big muscles, right? That seems to be something they actually both share and seems to be more directly related to lifting weights. The key idea is we were looking for something common between Jeremy and John that accounts for a function that they can both do. We had this initially not so reasonable one, and later with our increase of knowledge, there's a more reasonable one. Isn't that similar with the dog case, right? Initially, we want to account for something that is in common between them, that enables them to feel pain. We thought it is C fibers. However, it's incorrect because dogs do not have C fibers, just like how John doesn't like to eat gelato. So what is that something in common then? So just to trace the process again, right? Initially, we thought when Jeremy feels pain, C fibers are firing. Perhaps dogs also have C fibers firing. Turns out to be wrong. Some other fibers are firing. So there should be something else that they share. The key question at stake is, what is that something else? Perhaps identifying that common property will greatly help us to establish a new theory. I'm going to give you guys a further hint, but before I give out that hint, does anybody want to share any ideas? No?
mean, the whole thing seems a little bit like you give up too easily. For example, you didn't need to give up on ice cream theory. And you're like, Jeremy likes gelato, John likes ice cream. You could have said, they both like sweet cold things. So it is sweet cold things that accounts for their ability to raise. Or with the fibers, right? It could be like humans have C strings, dogs have H strings. It is some kind of string.
Dr. Schneider, can I you
That's
some more general version of your initial idea that still covers both things.
Very good, right? So what Dr. Garcia was saying was that maybe by saying Jeremy loves gelato and John loves American ice cream, we are being too caught up on the details here. Maybe we should go up a level, Both of them are cold, sweet things. Maybe that's what's important. Just like with dogs and humans, maybe C fibers, A fibers, whatever other fibers, doesn't matter that much. As long as there's some kind of fibers that fires in that particular way. Maybe there's some common property between C fibers and dogs fibers, right? So what Dr. Garcia is suggesting is perhaps a more general version of identity theory. We're not corresponding mental states with that detailed of a brain state, but more general brain states. Am I correct? Cool. And that is actually how identity theorists defend themselves. Any other ideas?
I feel like Garcia saying it won't an idea of just broadening it. I feel like it only really functionality of that like decreases if with a larger sample size you take. Like, let's say yes, between the two, it could be the reason between the dark side and Jamie having big muscles because of just sweet cold treats. But if you broaden it to maybe asking like 30 people what or 30 people as opposed to and
good.
Sweet treat might not work.
Very good. Now we are philosophically debating, right? So what Lou presented was a counter-argument to Dr. Garcia's argument. What he was saying was, let's go back to gelato, right? Maybe for now, you can say Jeremy loves lemon gelato and John loves American ice cream. I can still use the generalization they both like cold, sweet things. What if I ask a third person, Jerry, he likes waffles? Well, that is not cold, sweet things. That is hot, sweet things. If I ask another 30 person, right, they will come up with a bunch of more food, like hot pot, not sweet. So as I go up with my sample size, as I increase my scope of knowledge, I'm having to tweak my generalization more and more and more. So that sounds perhaps implausible, right? A theory that always needs tweaking as I'm increasing my knowledge doesn't seem all that stable.
The alternative, you could also say that the dogs feel or the humans feel is not.
Perhaps they are not the same. But at least most of our intuition is that we can share some kind of feeling. And it turns out that there's actually one way to account for that. But just give me a moment to write Luke on the counter argument. I'm gonna ask you guys to think, what is a wrench? Is this a wrench? Right? Yay! That's correct. That's a wrench. Is this a wrench? Picture of wrench. Cool. But in the picture, it is a wrench. It is a wrench. Disagreements? Wrench? All right. Is this a wrench? Looks like a wrench. Pretty good. Is this a wrench? I promise you, this is the last example, right? Is this a wrench? Yeah. Are you okay? Cool. All right. So, all of them are wrenches. What made you think that they are wrenches, right? Is it the composition? Not quite, because this one has two heads. This one has only one head, right? This one has different markings on the body. This one has a red rubber handle. So, they are all made of different stuff, yet we call them wrenches. What is the underlying property that made us call them wrenches?
The function.
Cool! Genius! I love that idea. The functions, right? For as long as I care, it can be made of the mystery meat from lunch in the cafeteria. As long as it is hard enough and I can screw the screws with it, I call it a wrench. What it is made up of doesn't matter, as long as it satisfies the same function. So, maybe this crucial thing has something to do with the function. I'm gonna give you guys 2 minutes with this notion of function to think about it. What is the crucial thing that Jeremy and the dog share? Perhaps they do the same function. Maybe they function in the same way. So think about it for a brief moment and we will feedback in 1 minute.
I think that.
All right. Since not easy, definitely not easy. Took philosophers quite a while, a few decades. But
I'm sure there's still.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them made up their mind.
but like it even took them like quite a while to realize that there's this debate that needs to go on, But anyways,
Philosophers get paid.
so feedback time. Does anybody want to share their opinion? Give you guys the golden mic.
What's your answer?
What's my answer? I'm not gonna give you guys the answer. I'm gonna save it to the next session, so you guys can have more opportunity to think.
That's the next session is gonna be like in January. You realize that?
We're gonna forget.
True.
Just give us the answer. We promise to forget it by then. What is your answer?
So, my answer, I'll cut it out in the video, by the way.
That 21 minutes is when you're looking at.
Well, yeah, that is my answer. Now, does anyone wants to share your answer? What was your solution?
My solution was kind of like not really a solution at all. It was confusing to me.
By the way, please don't press this. It's gonna turn off the microphone. So.
Yeah. Right here. Well, my original thoughts were that it was like under the feet reason. We're still on the pain topic, right? That the reason was because it was a survival method. The reason why they both felt pain is because of a survival method. Originally, like if I punched Jeremy, he'd feel pain realizing I was a threat. And then so if it's different, so if it comes from a different place, like the C fibers for humans, but the A fibers for like a dog, A for a dog, I think it was. It's just the function is to help it survive and let go. And like.
So
The problem with that, like one problem with that, you can envision a totally different system that would have been able to survive. Let's say instead of pain, it's like pleasure. Like if occurred to me, but if Jeremy pinches me and I run away from Jeremy, it could be because it caused me pain, or it could be because suddenly running that way causes me pleasure, and they're totally different experiences.
yeah.
But from the outside, you see the same thing.
All right. So gets back to the problem of you can't really get into people's head and directly access their experience, right? So, did you have anything to say about this or not really? About the original discussion? No? Okay, cool. So, for my YouTube audience, just as any good television show would do, I'm leaving the most exciting stuff to the next episode. Please don't punch me. But I do have a course evaluation. So if you guys do have a phone, please scan it and do it, because I'm not only doing this for my own pleasure, I'm also doing it for your experience. And your opinion would really help me to improve your experience, right? So please do that. It's going to be very helpful. Luke, would you mind to do a little questionnaire? Yeah. Thank you so much. Happy midterms. Happy midterms. Give out good grades, Dr. Garcia.